Hi everyone, it's Lisa. I have some quick tips for precision piecing for you today. As you know, we were working on our mitered borders, and one of the important things on mitering our borders is that we have precision sewing into this corner, precision cutting for this particular angle, and then precision sewing for joining these two pieces. So let me give you a couple of tips for getting that level of precision. I am purposely showing you a corner that has pretty crappy precision. You can see that I must have been lazy on this 1/4 inch mark, and I wandered towards the end, and you can see that it's not straight there. It should come straight into that corner. Instead, it's up a little bit, and I have a little bit of a gap. All right, and we'll see how that translates to the front. It translates to the front in that I got a little bit of sloppiness there. If I didn't have black thread there, you wouldn't notice it. But I did want to point it out. That's not a horrendous mistake. The worst mistakes we can make is not so much being a stitch too short, but being a stitch too long, because that will cause puckers. So when we come into any of these, I'm going to turn the work now. So when we're having to sew into a precision point, no matter what it is, if you're doing Lemoyne stars or any sort of set and seam, notice this is what you're trying to get. You're trying to get a perfect plane where this intersect, and this intersect. This is why it's called the Y seam. There's the Y. There's the stem of the Y. And that intersect needs to be completely free. You see, so if you were to stick a pin, right through there, it's going to be free on all of the axes where they come together, all right? And that's what it's going to look like. So, and that's a Y too, correct? So from the construction technique, make sure that you understand that piece of it. And I think that once you understand that everything needs to run free, you'll feel more confident. Now let me give you a couple of strategies for helping you keep free the corner. Instead of free willy, it's free the corner. Number one tip is this. Use a precision marking tool, and there's many of them out there. I use the Marty Michelle Deluxe Corner Trimmer. I don't even know what grade it was, 8th, 9th grade, and you were going, when am I ever going to use that? Well, if you ever grew up to become a quilter, and I became a quilter very late in my life, then you would say every day, oh, I'm glad I learned that in my geometry class. With this tool, we're simply nestling our 90-degree into the corners and making our marks on each corner. So use your favorite marking tool. I use a Pima pen, or you can use a pencil. It just depends on the color of your fabric or your friction pen. I do not own a friction pen, but that's strategy number one. Now, for those of you who have a presser foot, hold on for a second and then I'll show you that. For those of you who have a piecing foot that has notches on it, this one has a notch behind the needle, 1/4 of an inch. That's a better view. There's 1/4 inch behind the needle. This is exactly where the needle is, and this is 1/4 inch in front of the needle. You can use this to also visually link up. Let me see if I can get my hand out of the way so you can see. So my needle needs to go down there. If the back of that notch is at my fabric, this is 1/4 inch foot, and my foot is on the side, and this is lined up, I know that when I put my needle down, it's going to stop. It's going to stop exactly where it needs to be. But use your comfort level. when you're just starting out, I think it's better to mark. And then when you get comfortable with your foot, then you can use that. So it's certainly your preference. The other thing I would suggest is that, remember, we're doing, free the corner, right? So one way to free the corner is to make sure that when we're starting and stopping, we're exact. Go over to the machine. I'm going to show you how to sew this. One of the reasons I like this method is because I'm doing it on this hinge. I create for myself this visual, because I have a little crease here which can get ironed out, but I have a perfect visual for lining up on my machine. So let's go take a look. Okay, we're at my Bernina, and remember, this is our project. We made our cut, but now we've got to sew it, and we need to turn our work so that we can see what we're doing. All right, so notice on a mitered corner, this is your plane. This is that plane that I was talking about, where all the pieces have to be free but be close. All right, so we're going to flip our work over, and I can't see anything, right? Because remember what I have to see and you have to see. We need to see where we are here, and we do that by turning our work over and folding it back. Get everything out of the way. All right, so this is the plane that we need to hit. Now, a couple of strategies for that. And we need to have a perfect 1/4 inch. And I've got my Bernina gated foot, which I love to sew on. I typically do a scant, but we're not going to do a scant in this instance. The back of my foot, this is a 1/4 inch foot with a gate, so I can't see the front side. I also have one that is ungated, but it's sitting right on that stitch line. Of course, I can see my mark too, but it's another visual cue. So I'm lined up perfectly here. I'm lined up perfectly here. And what I want to do, and here's the tip, is I want to shorten my stitch length. And I'm going to take my wheel down and just kind of double check where I am. I'm going to take a couple of stitches. And the other thing you need to do is know how your machine does the back stitch, because now I took a couple of back stitches, and my Bernina sometimes does a little burp and takes another back stitch, and I end up with a stitch too far. So then lengthen your stitch length and then go forward. All right, so what that gives us is a secure corner where the stitches meet but they don't go over. If this stitching came over here, and you can see where this fabric is folded, when I open this up, it's not going to hinge. It's going to be, see, this is the hinge. This has got a hinge on this line. If you go too far, you're going to end up with a pick. So I'm not too far there, and I'm not too far there. And we know we can't be too far on the back. All right. So those are my tips for you. Shorten your stitch length at your precision points so that you can take confident back stitches, and the shorter length of the stitch will also reinforce this corner. Use a foot that you know and understand. I know and understand this foot, and know and understand how your machine will do the back stitch. So let's go take a look and see how we did at the ironing board. So in summary, you want to mark well, You want to sew well. You want to cut well when you have to, for example, in these mitered corners. And you need to shorten your stitch length. That's part of the sewing well. You got to sew straight and true and not one stitch too far. It's better to be one stitch less or one stitch too far. And to help you with your stitch management, dial down your stitch length so that you are micro precision at these points. And use your seam guide to make sure that you're sewing straight and don't have a camera in front of you when you're trying to do your precision work, or you'll end up with a busted corner like I have here. All right, so hopefully that was helpful to you, and I get better and better at this by practice, and one of the reasons I felt confident doing these mitered corners is because it reminded me of the technique that I used to do my set-in seams for my Lemoyne stars. I made myself learn how to do that, and I made lots and lots of Lemoyne stars, some of them so bad that I had to put them in the trash